So this morning I would like to discuss Paul's writings in 2 Timothy 4. Those writings are extremely important. He forecasted, he foretold how the church was going to turn away from the truth. Let's get started. 2 Timothy 4. Now, I have in the past 8 to 10 years on this YouTube channel pointed out over and over and over again, and we will do it again today, that the name of the Creator has never changed. Okay? Because he does not change. He changes not. Therefore, his name is not God or God. His name is Jehovah. And the name of the Moshiach, his son, is very much like the name of the Abba, Yehoshua. There I charge you therefore before Jehovah and the Moshiach, not Jesus, but Yehoshua. Sounds a lot like Jehovah because it is a lot like Jehovah. It means Jehovah is salvation. See, this proves just how far Christians have rejected the truth for the lie. How far they have searched for the lie to replace the truth. Who will judge the quick and the dead at the appearing of his kingdom. Preach the word, be instant in season, out of season, reprove, rebuke, exhort with patience and doctrine, because the time will come, and I declare to you today that the time is here, and the time arrived even before Constantine, when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lusts they shall heap to themselves teachers, having an itch to scratch. Or as a cousin of mine would say, feeling that little tingling sensation. And they will turn away their ears from the truth, and shall be turned unto fables. Fables like what? Oh, like Santa Claus going down the chimney. Or like rabbits laying eggs, which they do not. There are hundreds more examples that Christians practice today. All right? Now, fables. What fables is he talking about? Well, we will continue with Paul's writings in Romans 1. For the wrath of not God. See, they turned to the lies. They turned to fables instead of the truth. I'm going to keep going to 2 Timothy 4. They turn their ears away from the truth and turn to fables instead. For the wrath of Jehovah is real from the sky against all unrighteousness or unpiety and unrighteousness of men, because they hold back the truth. They blocked the truth. They covered it up in their unrighteousness. Why? Because that which may be known of Jehovah is manifest, is self-manifested. For Jehovah showed it to them. For the invisible things from him, from the creation of the world, are clearly seen, being understood that the things are created by his everlasting power and his very nature. And for this reason, they are without excuse, because that when they knew not God, not God, not Deus, not Dios, but Jehovah, they refused to glorify him as Jehovah. They were neither thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, and they changed the glory of the uncorruptible Jehovah Elohim into a graven image made like unto a corruptible man. And you Christians will once again tomorrow bow down unto this very graven image that Paul was talking about, that was made in the likeness of Leonardo da Vinci's boyfriend, and to birds and four-footed beasts and creeping things which you can see at the Vatican. For this reason, on this account, Jehovah gave them up to uncleanness, to the lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves. Where is the proof of this? The proof is all around you, especially in the big cities in Western civilization. They changed the truth of not God, not Dios, not Deus, but Jehovah into a lie, and worshipped and served the creature as greater or beside the Creator. Because of this, because they did this, Jehovah gave them up to vile affections. That's right, what we see today. What we see today, these vile affections, are the fruit of your falsehoods that you preached at the pulpit. For even their women did change the natural use, which is against nature, into that which is against nature. And likewise also men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one toward another, men with men, working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense for their wandering. Demonstrating that it is necessary, that the retribution is necessary, the recompense. They did not retain Jehovah in their knowledge, and I proved that to you in the very writings of, let's see if I can find it, Von Shem. Right here. In this Wikipedia study, Wikipedia shows you how the Christians denied and tried to hide the name of Jehovah, and then they did something even worse. They claimed that Shem HaMephorish, or Hashem, Mephorish means the explicit name. What is that explicit name? That name is Jehovah. They claim in the most horrific blasphemy ever uttered by men, they claimed that the Jews got that name from inside of a swine. You can read it right here. Right there. You can see it. This is what Christianity did. And it wasn't just Martin Luther. This very graven image was put up at their churches, at their cathedrals, by the Catholic Church. So the Catholics and the Protestants participated in this horrific trampling of the holy name. And that is the reason why your society is destroyed before your very eyes with vile leaving of the natural use, burn in their lust toward one another, men with men working that which is unseemly, because they did not want to retain Jehovah. They did not want to retain Hashem Mephorish in their knowledge. And because they did not want to retain him in their knowledge, he gave them up to a failing to pass the test, unapproved, counterfeit religion. That's right, counterfeit religion. He handed you over to the counterfeit religion that you wanted. Why? So that when Jehovah and Yehoshua do come, you will believe that Yehoshua is, as you say, the Antichrist. And proof of that is in Cyril's 15th catechetical lecture, somewhere in point 11, 12, 13, 14, or 15. Even he says so. Which is opposite of what Paul said in Romans 11. Now, you see, folks, he gave them up to a unapproved, failing to pass a test, counterfeit religion, which is what Christianity is today. To do those things because they did those things which are not proper. Now they are filled with all unrighteousness. And the word fornication is essentially idolatry. Wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness. We see it all today. It's all here. Full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, malignity, malevolence, whisperers, backbiters, haters of Jehovah, just like Martin Luther proved himself to be and all his followers in the Protestant church, the spiteful, proud boasters, inventors of evil, like the nuclear weapons, and disobedient to parents. Yes, disobedient to parents. Without understanding, truce breakers, without natural affection, without libation, and without compassion, cruel, who knowing the judgment of Jehovah, they that commit these things are worthy of death. They not only do the same, but they have pleasure in them that do them as well. So they try to teach sodomy in school today. That is the end result. Now, you want to claim that the Torah or the law is done away. Let's first go over Exodus 20, the Ten Commandments. In fact, I will just go over the very first commandment. Does it say, I am the Lord your God? No, it does not. It says, Jehovah. You see that? Jehovah Elohim. It does not say God. You can see the word right there. You Christians added these words. Now, in Italy, they added their own words. In Germany, they added their own words. And in English, they added their own words. Because they did not want to retain Jehovah Elohim in their knowledge. Exactly as Paul said in Romans 1. Which brought you up out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other Elohim facing me, in my face. Okay, you shall not make unto you any graven image or any likeness of anything which is in the sky above, or that is in the water, or in the dirt, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down yourself to them, nor serve them, for Jehovah, that's what it says, not the Lord, Elohim, not God or God, am jealous, ale, visiting the iniquity of this great sin upon the fathers of the children unto the third and fourth generation of those who hate me. So those of you who do these things, you Christians, who make those graven images and put them in your churches and bow down to them, you hate him. This is an act of hatred. You will say, oh, the law is done away. All right, let's look at this. Matityahu, not Matthew. Within Matityahu's name is the name of Jehovah. So you must not say this man's name in an undisrespectful manner. But when the Pharisees had heard that he had put the Sadducees to silence, they were gathered together. Then one of them, which was a lawyer, said unto him in a question, tempting him, and said, Master, which is the greatest commandment in the Torah? Now, did Jesus say anything? No, there was no man by the name of Jesus. Yehoshua was his name, and still is his name, and shall always be his name. Said unto him, you shall love Jehovah Elohim with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your mind. This is the first and great commandment. But is that written in the Ten Commandments? No, it's not. I'll show you where it's written. It's written after. Where'd it go? It's in Deuteronomy 6. We'll go to Deuteronomy 5 first, and you will see the Ten Commandments are spoken again. Okay? But if you go to Deuteronomy 6, let me show you this. The greatest commandment is written right here. Uh-oh! In verse 4, Hear, O Israel, not the Lord your God is one Lord. No, it says, Jehovah Elohim is one. There are not two. There is not a trinity. No trinities. One Jehovah. You shall love Jehovah Elohim with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your might. That is the greatest commandment. And even the commentators, the writers, the translators know this because they put it right here, right on top. So how can you say the law is done away? So the Ten Commandments, though, they are the Torah of Moshe. The two commandments of Jehovah are, let's see here, you shall love Jehovah Elohim with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your mind. They are of Jehovah. The Ten Commandments and the great law, you shall love Jehovah Elohim with all of your heart, with all of your soul, all of your might, was also given to the children of Israel in the Torah. But the Torah of Yehoshua is the greatest commandment, and the second one, which is just like it, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hang all the Torah and the prophets. So these two commandments stand. It is impossible to keep the greatest commandment and commit idolatry. Second Corinthians. We'll go to 1 Corinthians 10, verse 14. Paul proves it. Wherefore, my dearly beloved, flee from idolatry. I speak to you as wise men. You judge what I say. The cup of blessing which we bless, it consists, isn't it the communion of the blood of the Moshiach, the bread which we break? Isn't it the communion of the body of not Christ, but Moshiach? For we, being many, are one bread and one body, and we are all partakers of that one bread. And at that particular time, still while Paul was speaking, Israel, after the flesh, aren't they which eat the sacrifices partakers of the altar? What am I saying? That the idol is anything, or that which is offered to sacrifices to idol is anything? What I'm saying is that the things which a Gentile sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils and not to Jehovah. So if you have a graven image in your church and you bow down and worship it, that image you are bowing down to is of the devil. And I would not have you that you should fellowship with devils. You cannot drink of the cup of neither Jehovah or Yehoshua and the cup of devils. He will not compromise on that. There is no compromise. And last year, 2 years ago, I even pulled off of the Presbyterian Church's website that they even admitted that bowing down to a graven image, as they do, is idolatry. They admitted it. But you insisted. You insisted. 2 Timothy 4, verse 3, For the time will come, where they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lust they shall heap to themselves teachers having itching ears, that will give them that tingling feeling, and they will turn away their ears from the truth. That's what you have done, you Christians. And will be turned away unto fables. Okay? You cannot drink of the cup of the Moshiach and the cup of devils. We cannot partakers of neither the Moshiach's table nor Jehovah's table and the table of devils. Are we going to provoke Jehovah to jealousy? And we read right here that he says, For Jehovah Elohim is jealous. He's a jealous Elohim, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. So when Paul is saying, he says, are we in the church going to provoke Jehovah's jealousy and bring damnation to our children to the third and fourth generation? Is that what you want? That's what you've chosen. And so, if damnation comes to you and your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren for bowing down and worshiping graven image, it's not because Jehovah is unkind and unmerciful. It is because you. It is all on you. All their blood are going to be on your shoulders. On you. Paul told the Galatians while he was yet alive. In Galatians 1 and verse 6, I marvel that you are so soon removed from him that called you into the grace of the Moshiach unto another gospel. What other gospel could there be? And he goes on to say that if we or any messenger from heaven preach to you a different gospel unto you than what we have preached, let him be accursed. What was the gospel that Paul preached? It's found in Romans 11. But every time I discuss Romans 11 with you Christians in person, you reject it. You run away from it because you don't believe in it. You don't believe that Israel is going to be saved. You believe in personal salvation only. That's right. Romans 11. Read all of it. He's talking about Israel versus the Gentiles here. Have Israel stumbled that they should fall? It's talking about Israel. Has Jehovah cast away his people? No. Okay? You say he has, though. You say he rejected Israel and replaced Israel with the church. When you say that the church became spiritual Israel, you are saying that he rejected Israel. That's what you're saying. And these Romans were saying it too, which is why Paul confronted them about this. They were saying it while he was alive, and he had to lay down the truth to them. He said, if the casting away or the rejection of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead? But you don't believe that. You Christians, you don't believe that. Because you see, he was pointing out that the Romans were believing in the rejection of Israel, but Paul was saying, okay, if what you're saying is true, then what shall the receiving back from them being but life from the dead? He one-ups on them. Because if the first fruit of Israel is holy, then so is the whole lump of Israel holy. And if the root of Jesse is holy, then so are all 12 branches. He is arguing with the Romans, telling them that they are wrong, that they have a wrong ideas in their head. And if some of the branches were broken off, and you being a wild olive, you were grafted in among them, in, on, at, or by them. You don't consider yourselves in, at, or by Israel. You Christians, you consider yourselves a replacement of Israel. And partaking jointly of the root and the fatness of the olive tree, do not boast against the branches. I just showed you proof that not only did you Christians boast against the branches, but you blasphemed the very name that can provide you salvation. You rejected it, you kicked it up underneath a hiding place so it cannot be heard or seen or spoken. Because if you boast, you do not bear the root, but the root bears you. You will say, then the branches were broken off that I might be grafted in. Well, because of unbelief they were broken off, and you stand by faith. Be not high-minded, but fear. For if Jehovah, not God, spared not the natural branches, take heed lest he also not spare you either. Look at the excellence, uprightness, and severity of Jehovah on them which fell severity, and that severity fell on them at the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD Roman time, Roman calendar. But toward you goodness, if you continue in his goodness, otherwise you shall also be cut off. How many times did Paul warn the Gentiles what they were going to do? And they also, ianme means not if, does not mean if. It says before. They abide before unbelief shall be grafted. What does he mean by that? Well, if you read Ezekiel 39, in the lower third portion, is it verse 20? It says, From that day and forward, Israel shall believe. So Israel must be saved first. Then they shall believe. Who are they going to be saved from? From you Christians and the Muslims who want to destroy them. They will be grafted in. You see, they're going to be grafted in, which means they're going to be taken from all the lands of the Gentiles by the two witnesses. And in those days, any Gentile who is alive, who wants to be grafted in, can also be grafted in. For Jehovah is able to graft Israel back in again. And if you were cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and you were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more opportunity, how much greater a chance have these branches of Israel to be grafted back in their own olive tree. For I would not, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery, lest you should be wise in your own conceits. You see, he was accusing them too of following a different gospel. A gospel of permanent rejection of Israel. A gospel of the church replacing Israel. But Paul is setting the Romans in their place and warning them that they are going to be cut off if they continue in this lie, in this boasting that they were boasting against the branches of Israel. He warned them. And he said, because I would not, brethren, you should be ignorant of this mystery, lest you should be wise in your own conceits, that partial blindness happened to Israel until, it says, the filling up of the Gentiles be come in. It means the filling up of time, the filling up of the hourglass of the Gentiles be come in. I have shown you that in Luke 22, when the time of the Gentiles comes to the end. And so all Israel shall be saved, because it is written, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer, who will turn away unrighteousness from Jacob. For this is my covenant with Jacob, when I shall take away their sins. That's Israel's sins. Because you see, concerning the gospel, they might be enemies for your sakes, but concerning the election, they are the beloved for the patriarchs' sakes. That's Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because the gifts and calling of Jehovah cannot be changed. Now, this is the gospel that Paul preached. And wouldn't you know it, today the Christians don't believe it. They have gone to a different gospel. They have gone to a gospel of somehow the church replaces Israel, and that individual salvation outweighs the salvation of Israel, or trumps the salvation of Israel. Personal salvation, that's what you Christians like to call it. Now I want to point out one more thing. Well, I'll wait for that until another time. I think I have covered this subject the way I wanted to. I hope everyone learns from this. Do not go bow down to those graven images. Don't do it. You're going to be cut off if you do.